Hello, I'm Jolene Jang. Welcome to Women Who Go For It. The mission is to empower women to take action on what's important to them. By meeting these dynamic women, we're going to learn about their best practices so we can ponder, adopt, adapt, and get inspired to make progress in our own lives. We're going to take a peek into the past and spend most of the time in the present and preparing for the future. We're going to look at their obstacles and what they've done to cope and manage them. So then we can start to glean and figure out what's going to work for us so we can conquer our goals and make our dreams come true. Women who go for it. Today our conversation is with Sarah Bird. She is the CEO of an SEO company, Moz. She has overseen the growth of several hundred customers to 30,000 around the world. She's a student of life as well as the world. She's studied in China, in Turkey, in Canada, and here in Seattle. She's an advocate for women leaders in tech, and she lobbies for gender equity and pay transparency as well as inclusion. One of the neat things that she does at her company is she gives 4-month paternity and maternity leave. And when you go on vacation, you don't just get time, you get $3,000 to spend. I like it. In this conversation, we're going to learn about what she does to recover from failure, what she learned from her father, and how she centers herself. Sarah Bird. You were going to talk about recovery from failure. Can you share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So Moz had many years of just rocket growth, right? 100% growth year over year in revenue. And we were feeling very proud of ourselves for that, right? It's a great accomplishment. And I think it drew a lot of people to us who wanted to participate in that. And then in 2013, we made a lot of really bad decisions. We executed poorly. The strategy wasn't as good as it should have been. And that led to end of 2013 and beginning of 2014 being very tough for us financially, right? And for our customers, we were launching a new product that wasn't really ready for prime time. And that set company growth back. And it was a very challenging time for me and for the whole leadership team to recover from emotionally. Right? We hadn't yet had that in the company, right? We hadn't yet had growth is like, it's basically flat for many quarters in a row. I mean, that's not a good story in startup land, right? And we weren't really prepared for it. And we had these results, and we had a team that was exhausted. In the midst of these, not good financial performance and customers who understandably were not delighted with the product we'd shipped that really wasn't ready. We also had a team that had been working so hard, though, right? It wasn't for lack of effort. We weren't lazy. It wasn't that we didn't care. We had a ton of care, and we were working really hard. We just didn't do the right things at the right time, right? And I just remember this sense of feeling overwhelmed by wanting to find a way to motivate an already exhausted team, to keep working so hard to try to make a difference, to get our growth turned around, to help our customers, to give them customers a better experience. And how could I ask that of them, right? And would they leave, right? Did they come to Moz because of the growth? And if the growth wasn't there, would they leave? Did I collect a team of people who were there because of the work and the mission and the belief? And it was a very challenging, very stressful time. And luckily, though, I leaned back into a lot of those lessons that I really alluded to in my talk around remembering that I had dignity as a person. I was still worthy of leading and trying to help the team, even though we hadn't had these results. That as a company, we could still be a great company, even if in this moment we weren't having great results on a particular vector, which happened to be growth, right? An important vector, but only one aspect of work. And so I really I tried to give the team growth, individuals. I tried to give them grace and show them love and compassion. We made sure not to try to shift people into blame. We tried to avoid blame with each other. And
Can you pause? How did you give them grace? How did you empower them?
How do we as leaders show grace, right? We try to remember people's names. We ask them how their families are doing. We say, that's okay. I understand. Yep. I can see we have a problem there. What should we do next? What do you think? What did we learn from it? What are we going to do? And really help them feel like this is their moment to learn as well, right? Invite them to contribute to the solution and to not feel like they are victims or not feel like they are less than, because really talented engineers make mistakes, really talented marketers make mistakes, right? Talented leaders make mistakes. And so all of us, it was like this opportunity to try to practice and shift our thinking out of, oh man, we're so bad at stuff and why are we so bad at our jobs, and like, oh, this is terrible, to this is my moment to contribute, right? This is my moment to show growth, to be resilient, to have a big impact. And the company needs me to have big impact right now. And I tried to take really interpersonal moments, but also bigger company moments to invite people to think of the challenge that way, right? Like, it was not an existential threat. We are still here. We are still great people. This is the team to overcome this challenge. And let's take our learnings and then, make that our armor, make that our strength so that we don't have this problem again. And we can go forward all feeling like, oh my God, we survived, we did it, and we're better now, right? We're better people now.
So I saw the lesson with your mom
Yeah.
when you were younger,
Yeah.
the lessons she gave you, and now I saw that very clearly come through.
Yeah.
So in terms of your father, what have you learned from him?
Yeah. So there was a time when I first had my son. He's 4 now. When I first had my son, I was miserable because if I was at work, I felt guilty I wasn't at home. And if I was at home, I felt guilty I wasn't at work. And as you can see, it's a no-win situation, right? And like the sort of unconscious assumptions, the sort of the water, right, that I was operating in was that time means you care, time means effectiveness. So like, if I'm not in the office, does that mean I'm not working hard enough, right? Will I be a failure as a leader because I'm not putting enough time in? I need to be here till 8 p.m. every night. I'm working 7 days a week. And then similarly, as a mother, right? If I am not there during the day, if I'm only there in the evenings and give him a kiss in the morning, like, is that enough? Will he still love me and feel valued? And so I had these assumptions, and what helped me get over that was one day I realized how much I feel my father's love, and I've always felt my father's love. And he worked very hard. I mean, he was, out the morning. His dental practice started at 8. He didn't get home until 6 p.m. We'd have family dinner, and then he'd go upstairs and work on his computer doing the administrative parts of the office because he's an entrepreneur, right? So you have to pay people, you have to order supplies, and da-da-da. And once I realized I had to have that gut knowledge, right? I had to have like an experience myself, because intellectually understanding my son will love me wasn't enough. I had to find a way to connect to it, and my way of connecting to it was through my father. And I was like, oh, like I feel my father's unconditional love, my son will feel my unconditional love, because it isn't just in hours of time, right? It's in all those other moments throughout the day where you show someone that you value them for who they are and that you'll be there if they need you. And that's what love feels like.
Now, you're very bold, and you talked about traveling around the world. Do you have suggestions for people of a certain age, or to get things out of your system, or?
Travel, you just do it. I mean, I would say, I guess I want to tap into something that I think is out there that maybe like some people's unspoken rules, maybe part of their sort of this is water moment, right? That I think there's a perception that the world is a scary place full of rapists and murderers who are out to get you, especially if you're a woman, right? I think a lot of women are like cultivated this sense of like, oh, don't go alone. It won't be safe for you. You can't do that, right? It's dangerous. And it's good intention. I think society has good intention, but like, there are bad people everywhere, right? And most people everywhere, all over the world, are great people, right? And so I would encourage women to try not to fall for that trap of thinking that they're going to be victimized everywhere they go. I think it holds us back from experiencing all the world has to offer. And I think it perpetuates, it's like a self-perpetuating belief. Like, the less women travel, the less we have the opportunity to show that you can do it and have a great experience and survive and learn things and be better. And then the less people in foreign countries get to interact and see women in a different way, right? Like, we have to sort of branch out. And so you have to, whatever your way is, to practice courage. If it's, if you've never traveled before, take a baby step, do an organized tour to Europe, because that is easy peasy and they will take care of you, right? And then try I'll go on my own to Europe without the tour to help me, right? And you're building up your own strength, you're building up your own confidence until finally you're ready to take a bigger leap into some place that's, a bigger challenge, a bigger gulf between what you're used to and how other people live. Trust yourself.
So in terms of challenge, you've done so many things and have managed lots of people and done many things. So how do you challenge yourself personally?
Actually, every day is still a challenge. I mean, I'm still learning things all the time. I think that's what's different though is I don't think about the challenges the same way, right? Like there are still problems at work. There are still things I have to learn. There are still things we have to do differently. I'm still growing as a leader. I still have a lot of stuff I need to work on and show up differently as. But what has changed is sort of my anxiety level around it, right? Like it's not about me and me not being good enough. It is just like, well, things are hard and this is going to be a growth period for me and I'll make some mistakes, but eventually I'll figure this one out and it'll be great. And so I'm constantly challenged. I don't actually have any like, I have no like, oh, if only I had a challenge in my life. I have loads of challenge. I'm good, and it's going to be great, and I'm learning all the time.
So, what do you do? I know you're very confident, but there must be at some point, sometime, when you're not as confident as you could be.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you do in like 10 minutes? Okay, get it together.
Yeah.
What do you personally do to get yourself?
Yeah, I mean, we all have kind of different coping skills, right? And when I'm at a vulnerable spot, if my sort of emotional well strength is dry, or if I'm if I'm forgetting that I am more than the sum of my roles and achievements, if I'm having one of those days, honestly, I prefer to be alone. I try to get back to a space where I'm listening to my thoughts, and then I try to then I have curiosity about each of the thoughts I'm having, right? If I'm having a thought like, man, I'm never going to get this right. Why can't I get this right? I try to listen to that thought and I say, Sarah, is that true? Have you really never gotten this right? And just because you've never gotten it right before doesn't mean you won't get it right tomorrow. And so, but you have the curiosity about it. Like, where does that come from? Why do I feel that way about this? Like, why can't I be brave about this like I'm brave about something else? And I try to use that to like surface all those unconscious things. Or, gosh, why is that person being so hard to work with right now, right? I try to hear that thought and then go, are they being hard to work with? Is that really true? Is it you? Are you reacting differently? Like, what about this? Or maybe they have something going on. Maybe you need to change your approach. Maybe they're having a really tough day. Maybe instead of trying to solve whatever conflict is you're having with them, you should just say, hey, how's it going? Let's go have some fun. And like, change the tone. And so it's a lot of like retreating for me into a private space, either through a walk when I walk home, or if I'm out for a run, or if I'm in the shower, and listen to my own thoughts and then ask myself about them. Like, how's that working for me? I've obviously been trying this for a while and I'm not getting anywhere. What's another way I could look at this? I'll try that next time.
So I'm seeing that grace for yourself and kind of like a tennis player. We talk to ourselves all the time.
Yeah.
So what's the best conversation you've had with yourself?
Oh man, I don't know. I talk to myself all the time. I mean, some of them are the ones, like I shared in the talk around, part of it is because it's recent, right? I'm remembering because it's recent, and around pay and around, increasing my own salary and how I had to really listen to my thoughts that was holding, like, why was I so uncomfortable with that, right? Like, why was I so resistant to having a raise? And hear the thoughts that were going through my head and then deconstruct them, right? And so I was able to eventually, after like 2 months of listening to myself, identify that sort of just because, yes, I need my team and I'm nothing without my team and I need their support, doesn't mean I have to take anything away from me. Like there's enough in this company for everyone to have a market wage. I wouldn't do that to a team member. And if I show my team members that kind of grace, like, yeah, you should be paid the market rate. Why wouldn't I show myself that grace? Because it's not going to change the company trajectory. And why am I then like undermining myself? But I had to like do a lot of listening to even uncover like, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? What is this? What's going on with me? And that was a moment of a lot of learning, right? It was a moment I really had to like work to overcome a lot of sort of natural instincts for me that were not serving me.
So have you done something? No, let me rephrase that. What have you done that surprised yourself? Like, did I just do that? Did I just really just do that?
Let me think about it. I mean, there's so many, usually it's mistakes, right? Usually it's mistakes. Like, oh my God, I just did that in front of everybody. Okay, that's okay. That's okay.
Did you have that grace?
I try to. Yeah, you gotta move on. Which I think is one of the things. Actually, I didn't share this one, but in preparing for the talk, I thought a lot of different things and lessons I've learned, and one of them that you learn in theater, right? I think a lot of executives they've shown play competitive sports. I didn't play competitive sports, but I did a lot of theater, and I think theater also though helped me become a great leader. And part of that, not only do you learn teamwork and discipline. You are going to screw up on stage. Like it is going to happen. You can't be a regular performer and not screw up. And it is an incredibly valuable lesson to realize like you totally screw up on stage. And guess what? It doesn't even really matter. Like your 1 minute screw up on stage is not going to affect the totality of the performance and you've got to recover quickly, right? Like Don't spiral out of control. Recover quickly. Go with it. Forgive yourself. Get back into the zone. Work with whatever mistake you made on the stage, and then move on and let it go. Because guess what? You've got to if it was a matinee, you got to show that night. You got to show the next night, and it's fine. Like the audience is fine.
So my series is called Women Who Go For It. What piece of advice do you have for young women, business women?
Remind yourself constantly that the stuff that it seems like should matter, that everything around you is trying to tell you matter, doesn't really matter, and stay grounded in that. And that's what will give you courage, and that will give you resiliency. Never hold yourself back because you don't know a thing. Just learn the thing and do the thing. It'll be fine. Forgive yourself like you would forgive others. Sort of showing grace to yourself. Yeah.
When she says it sounds so basic but so true, and we don't hear that.
Yeah, well, I mean, common sense versus common practice, right? It's common sense to be like, wow, if I'm so nice to other people, why can't I be nice to me?
Yeah.
But it is still hard to do, and that's where that the hard part of the difficult thing about it, I think, is learning to listen to your thoughts, and that's a lifetime activity, right? Because it's not just your conscious thoughts; it's trying to surface your subconscious thoughts, and that's where so much of our activity that motivates us, that challenges us, where our fears are. So I think where it lives, and so I think the life's work is to try to make the subconscious conscious, raise your awareness, so that you know what to do with it, and then you have a choice what to do with it, right?
Lessons with Sarah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.